Welcome to the Speak by Design podcast, where we study personal style, message structure, and message strategy so you can become a consistently compelling force. Let's dig in. Virtual and hybrid meetings are here to stay, and we all benefit by being able to run these meetings effectively. If you can run effective virtual and hybrid meetings, you get a lot of time back into your day. You're not jumping on planes. You save your company and your clients a great expense by being great at these. And because we have recording tools and breakout and translation services and closed captioning, it in many ways is a better experience meeting virtually. You could make a case that meeting virtually and having hybrid meetings is better than meeting in person. I still run across people who are deeply committed to believing that in person is the only way to do great, meaningful business, but it is not the only way. And there are many advantages to the virtual meeting. You can meet with people faster, more efficiently. It takes a longer time to schedule an in-person meeting versus a virtual meeting. You could get into somebody's calendar usually the next day for something urgent, or even that day with a virtual meeting. But there are some things that make virtual meetings terrible. If the person is joining by phone and they cannot share their screen, it's not a great meeting. If they join by Zoom or Teams, but they don't show their video, it's not a great meeting. We've got to be on camera. Now, once you're on camera, how you look matters again. Is there light on your face? Are you positioning yourself well in the frame? Are you taking up 2/3 of the space? Does your posture look good? What are you wearing? Are you wearing a t-shirt? Can they see your arms and too much skin on your chest? Are you touching your face? Like, there's some things you could be doing visually that are a turn off. And we want that first impression visually, whether it's on screen or in person, to be stellar. Get some good natural light or a ring halo light on your face so that you stand out. People can see your facial features. Wear clothing that you would wear in the office in front of clients. If you're meeting a client on screen, look like you would if you were meeting them in person. This is not a time in a first impression to put on a hoodie and be at your at-home location looking relaxed. Stage your back wall. Put a beautiful piece of canvas art or something like a ballpark that you have been to, or a place you've traveled to, a picture of that place behind you. Maybe you have some family members behind you or your pet pictured behind you. Something that is big enough that people will say, "Hey, what's that behind you?" And then you get to talk about it. I've come on screen with people and been amazed at how well they have stylized their background with pictures of children, of pets, of family members, of their travels, and it opens up so much conversation. Instead of blurring the background, when you blur the background, it looks like you're hiding something, which is true. You are hiding something personal about you. How can you reveal that in a more powerful way? It would take some time to stylize the wall behind you, but you can do that. You can spare the time. Now think about your sound, because I'm using a nice microphone right now, but I don't always use that. When I'm traveling, I'm not bringing a microphone. You want to make sure that your sound is good, though. If your computer is not conducive to good sound or your headset is not helping you, make some changes so that your sound is good for people. Now, what about eye contact? Everyone wonders about this. Should I be staring directly into the lens? We can tell when you're looking directly into the lens. I don't think it's necessary to go straight into the lens unless you are on a large webinar and it's a one-way communication. If you've got a lot of faces on the screen, it will look strange if you are never looking at your screen monitor. What we don't want to have happen is that you're looking at a different computer monitor. You should be on your screen in the center panel, not even looking to the left and the right sides of the frame. See if you can stay in that center panel and position the faces close to the lens so that you are looking at the lens, or even occasionally at your own self monitor, to make sure that your posture looks good. Slouching on camera is visible. We can tell if somebody is sitting up straight or not. So check your posture as well. And then also your facial expressions. We don't go dead in the face. Use your face just like you would in an in-person meeting. Pretend you're right there. Show some of your torso if you can in the screen so that you're not too close to the camera. Some people like being really close to the camera, but check what the other person is doing. Maybe they like distance, and a little more distance from the frame is better. If you can show some of your torso as and the top of your head, that feels like you're sitting right across the table from them, and that's exactly the way you want it to appear. What about hand gestures? All right, now hand gestures come up quite a bit because there's resistance to the idea of you looking like a circus performer, of you looking like a magician, or using jazz hands. And I wouldn't recommend jazz hands or circus performer hands at all, but we need to be alive in this box, in your frame. It will look strange if you never gesture. It will look as though you're holding back and that you're not feeling as confident and convicted. What are the good hand gestures for hybrid and virtual meetings? Karate chops and key point gesture, also open palms, and the pincer, like you're holding a pencil, the pincer gesture. Those look really lovely on video, and they also look good in person too. So stick with those gestures to make them nice and clean so that you're not using claws or flimsy movements that are distracting on camera, because your hands do look bigger on screen to people. That's why the claw looks terrible. The claw is fine if you're talking about chaos and mayhem, but if you're explaining an idea you're very passionate about, that you like, a good idea, and you're using the claw, it's a turnoff to people because it looks not as well thought out and chaotic. Now, if you know you're going into a hybrid meeting, I want to encourage you to put even more time into preparing for this meeting. You're going to need a rehearsal in the space to check the sound. Sound is very difficult in hybrid meetings. We have to figure out, are we going to have people on their individual laptops because they have to speak, or is there a handheld microphone that will be passed around for the people who are in the room? Or do we not care if they're heard? Will we just repeat back the question that the audience asked and focus on amplifying the speaker only? But all of that needs to be discussed and practiced in the room. If part of this meeting is going to include a breakout virtually, have a tech host or facilitator who is exclusively focused on the virtual audience, who will manage the facilitation of those breakouts so that the people in the room can focus on organizing their breakouts in person and somebody else is organizing the virtual ones. It's unfair to ask the presenter in the room to manage the virtual audience to that degree and the in-person audience. It will look clunky to the participants. Now, the other thing the speaker needs to practice in the room is how will they stand in a way that makes them visible to both audiences, the in-person audience and the virtual audience. And they need to know exactly what that looks like to the virtual audience so that they know where they can move and where they should not move. And sometimes we even place some tape on the floor to help the speaker know where they can move, what range of motion they have available to them. And if you have multiple speakers that day, they all need to be educated on where they can stand, and they have to be mic'd appropriately. In preparing for this audience, you want to know who's going to be in the room and who is attending virtually. And those people who are attending virtually need to be notified that the expectation is they will be on a machine where they can show their video. And if they say, I will be in transit, then you can decide if you want to let them come or not. If they are going to be in transit and off video, you may decide to record the meeting and send them the recording later, because how well will they be able to listen and participate if they're in an airport or in a cab? For the person who is going to be the tech host responsible for the virtual audience, that person can also serve as the backup to the main speaker. If you want to have a different backup, assign a different backup to the main speaker, but you definitely need a backup, because here's what could happen is that main speaker might get pulled into an area where the sound isn't working or the sound could stop. You want to make sure that the tech host or the backup can get on with the virtual audience and keep that going. What about the slides? If you are showing visuals, which most people do, we don't want the slides to occupy more space than the speaker's face. And this is something that if you're virtually attending, you usually can control, but sometimes it's harder to control that. And the slides can take up too much room. Then they can't see the participants. They might be able to see the speaker, but they can't see the full room. If that's the case, you want to only let the slides hang out for 30 seconds, a minute max, before you take them down. And if the tech host is also managing that in the space for a hybrid meeting, it's great. If it's 100% virtual, everybody is attending virtually, I encourage you to have the speaker manage the slides. You will have some people who don't feel comfortable doing that. They're not as adept in the technology. For one, I wish they would get adept with the technology, because the amount of control you have when you can control your slides is fantastic. I'm able to pull my slides up, show what I want to show. When I'm done using the slide, I can hide the slide and speak to the people, which is so much more impactful than hiding behind slides. As the main facilitator in these trainings or meetings, the lead speaker, early on, there are some things you can do that make it known how the meeting's going to run. And hybrid and virtual meetings need to be run more tightly than in-person meetings. Why? Because the eye contact, the little things we do with eye contact, when you look at Mary and Mary knows that you want her to speak because you're looking at her, she starts speaking and we have instant interaction. But virtually, it's hard for people to know who you're looking at. So we have to use names. We have had people say, oh, I don't like the cold calling that happens in virtual meetings. Well, too bad. We have to do the cold calling. We have to invite people to speak up. Otherwise, you might have 20 seconds of pausing. Now, pausing is good for these meetings, but if you have to pause longer than 9 seconds with your audience, they are not an engaged audience. An engaged audience will speak within 9 seconds of silence. Somebody will emerge as a talker. And you could test that out early on to see if pausing works for your audience, or early on start the cold calling. Now, what if you are attending this meeting virtually and everybody else is in person? If that's the case, it already feels awkward and like you are at a disadvantage. Make yourself known very early on. I might say something like this: hello, everyone. I'm Stephanie. I'm on screen. Just want to make sure you can hear me. And then maybe I ask a question of someone in the room. Raphael, I heard that you're working on X. How is that going? If I do that virtually early on in the meeting, people know I'm there. I show up as comfortable with the arrangement of my being virtual that day. People are more likely to remember me. And then I could, in the middle of the meeting, say something like, Mary, am I able to ask a question about this? I can ask it that way. Or, Mary, is it all right if I stop you here and ask you a question? If that sounds too polite, overly polite, then you don't have to be that polite. You could be more direct, but say the speaker's name to help that speaker be quiet and give you space to speak. All right, now the last thing I want to say about virtual and hybrid meetings gets to how much time you spend on a topic. Let's say you have a 30-minute meeting and you have some people together in a space and some people who are virtual. And let's make it that you are virtual. If you cannot hear the people in the room well, speak up and let them know. Say, you all, I don't know what we can do to improve the sound, but I can hear you all speaking, but I can't make out exactly what you're saying. It's as though the consonants are not there. Is there any way we could change the amplification? And they usually will be more aware of that and start experimenting to make that better for you. If it is not resolvable, then you might say, I'll circle back with you all. Go ahead and have your meeting, but I'm not going to be able to hear well enough in today's discussion. And maybe you pass on that meeting. Clear that up early, because the worst thing that could happen would be that you sit through a meeting where you don't have any idea what they're talking about. Now, the second thing I want to say, though, on the time piece is that don't belabor points over and over again in virtual meetings. It's incredibly exhausting to people because they're set up to be so efficient. So here's a goal that we have at Speak by Design. We want to be able to get through a concept in 7 minutes. Now, 7 minutes is going to sound very ambitious, but here's how we divide the time. You can think of this as 2 minutes, then 3 minutes, then 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes to explain why and what it is and how it's used. Why, what, and how. Then you have 3 minutes for them to actually do it in front of the room, and that's a demonstration. Ideally, you would have somebody in the room demonstrate it because that creates more interest. Occasionally, that's going to be you demonstrating it in front of them. Then you debrief on why is this useful? How is this resonating? When will they put this into practice? And when should they not use this? And that's a good debrief right there. And then you're ready to either move on to your next topic or give the room 10 to 20 minutes to build something, create something, do something after that. But your piece of teaching is isolated to 7 minutes. This is great for people in sales who need to teach or demo a tool. This is great for people who are administering a new topic or new piece of training for people. If it is a topic in a routine meeting, let's say a case study, you could use 232 as well. So 2 minutes on what was the background that created the problem you needed to solve, 3 minutes on how you solved the problem, 2 minutes debriefing. So think 7-minute chunks for the items on your agenda. There will be times when you want to break that rule, but ask yourself, do I need to break the rule? How could I put this into a 7-minute chunk? Because what we have been able to determine is people need a break to actually practice or talk or say or ask something to keep themselves engaged. And if you're speaking in longer than 7-minute chunks on complex concepts, they are tuning out. And we don't want them to tune out. That's why so often we're pushing you to get to those 30-second or 90-second increments for people. But 7 minutes is valuable when you are teaching something new, when you are giving them a new skill. And all of us are teachers. We're all mentors in our line of work. If you have any expertise at all, you are a teacher, you are a trainer. Well, 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 are you ready to up your game with your virtual meetings and your hybrid meetings? Yes, you are. And don't be afraid of those hybrid meetings. You benefit greatly by being able to do that. When people are ill or not able to come into the office, or one person globally wants to join your local in-person meeting, you want to be able to have them. You want experts from around the world to be able to come to your meetings. And that means that sometimes if you're in person, that person is coming into a hybrid situation. You want to set them up for success. So remember, rehearsals are important. More preparation on who's going to be there. Tighter facilitation by calling on people and being comfortable interrupting. Using the mute button and the off mute button effectively so that you can come in and out of discussions as a facilitator and guide people through the topics. Thinking about your 7-minute chunks as well. All right, put as much of this into practice as you can in your next hybrid or virtual meeting and feel the impact of being more thoughtful in the design of those meetings. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. If you are enjoying all of these lessons, but now you're hungering to turn all of this into skills and habits that make this work intuitive and natural so that you don't have to think about it, then you want to join Speak by Design University. That's our coaching program that gives you private coaching, group coaching with me, group training, self-paced learning, as well as exceptional networking with other people like you. This program is for managers and above, people whose careers are on fire and they're looking to hit their next level and they want to do that sooner rather than later. Check it out at speakbydesign.com/join. That's speakbydesign.com/join, and you can start with us at the 1st of next month. We hope to see you there.